Hi, my name is Shawn Shaler. That guy who's not in the chair yet is Chris, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter, just slightly off screen. Welcome to Avatar, The Last Podcasters. Today, we are going to be doing a spoilery, not spoiler-free, spoilery, full of them, review and discussion of The Reckoning of Roku. So it's the Avatar Chronicles. There's a name for it, Chris. I'm going to remember what it is. It's like the Avatar Chronicles or something. Is the series of books. Yeah. And it's The Reckoning of Roku, and it's the first by a new author. We did a summary last week that was completely spoiler-free, at least to the best of our ability. And this week and next week, because we'll probably split it into 2 episodes, will be all the spoilers. So yeah, if you haven't read it yet and you are going to read it, I mean, I hate telling you to skip, but you should probably skip this week and next week because I don't want to spoil it for you. But if you're not going to read it at all, maybe we'll talk you into it, or maybe we'll talk you out of it. That's the real. I don't want to talk you out of it. But Chris, before we get started, I have a special review that I want to read for you. we were talking about ChatGPT last week because it just made up a story about Roku. Chris is like, hey, help me find a summary of The Reckoning of Roku, because it's been like 3 weeks since we've read it. And ChatGPT is like, okay, and then it just made something up, and he's like, no,
it was like Aang, Katara, and Sokka. Go on, like, no, this is not right.
They're not born. It persisted, and it was wrong. So anyway, I'm just like, all right, well, what else will ChatGPT make up? For reference, I don't have ChatGPT 4. I just use the free version, but right now they do this thing where they want you to buy the free version. So they give you 4 for like a few messages, right? And 4 is just more intelligent and it's all the way up to date or whatever. And I said, hey, ChatGPT, are you familiar with Chris and Shawn from Avatar The Last Podcasters? It said, no, they might be hosts of a podcast, blah, blah, blah. If you'd like, I could look them up and provide more details. And I said, yes, please do. And it came back with 5 paragraphs. Chris and Shawn are the hosts of Avatar The Last Podcasters, a show dedicated to discussing Avatar The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, and related topics in the Avatar universe. It began in 2018 as a way for 2 friends to stay connected and share their thoughts on their favorite shows. Over time, it gained a loyal following, especially due to Chris's YouTube channel, The Objective Geek. The podcast covers a wide range of topics, from episode reviews of the animated series and the recent live-action adaptation to discussions about broader Avatar universe news. They release both video and audio versions of their episodes, with content often available on the following platforms, blah, blah, blah. Their dynamic is well loved by listeners, combining Chris's deep analytical approach with Shawn's humorous, laid-back style. They also occasionally bring on guests to add different perspectives to the discussions. And that's what ChatGPT 4 knows about us. And I was flattered. It was nice. I didn't tell it was us. I was just a casual passerby. I didn't tell it who it was talking to. And it was very flattering. And I had a lot of fun reading about it. It really propped us up.
That's the best review I've heard. Maybe not the best, but best in a while that I've heard.
It's
so
the
I'm gonna go out there and top that.
It's the best review written by a robot of us. Written by a robot. Chris, let's start.
Put that on a plaque.
Just the whole thing printed out verbatim. Oh, I'd love that. I'd put it in my room. Chris, let's start summarizing this long novel.
Yeah,
because it's already it is 11:38.
It is 11:30. Yeah. While you were reading this, were you like me? And a part of my joy reading this was trying to find how it would connect or retcon things for our Avatar Kitsune at Zeto fan project coming up.
I was a little concerned, and only at one point. At one point that we'll touch on in the first half here today, was I really nervous that it was gonna, and it was based on Sozin's hopes and understandings of what he might find on this island, and I got a little nervous that it was gonna retcon some of our ideas. But overall, what actually happened, I don't think I don't think conflicts just a whole lot. I think we're safe.
Yeah, I think so too. And book two bet not. Oh, I think book two was announced that they're doing the second book. I think that was announced at San Diego Comic Con. Granted, it was already like, of course they're doing. That's just
Sure.
That's just but yeah, some things and a couple things support some of the things that I feel like we've been thinking of. Um, but we can get to some of that.
I think book 2 is going to be much less likely to infringe upon your ideas because I think it's going to be more political resource struggle that won't impact our underlying ideas of what makes Kitsune interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's
let's
summarize this bad boy.
Let's go. All right, so gonna go in fairly chronological order. By chapter. Some of these chapters I just combined together because, to my annoyance, and I think even the last books did this oftentimes, some chapters are too freaking short.
They're like 2 pages.
Like, what's the point?
And other books did do that. That's not a critique of this book.
Yeah. I found one that was like, here's half the page and here's the other half of the page. It's like, what?
Just put it with the previous. Well, so it's jumping from A plot. Okay, so again, the previous books did this as well. This is not a critique specific to this book, but it jumped from A plot to B plot. Just take this one page of B plot and just hook it to 2 chapters previous where it was B plot, and nothing bad will happen. I promise.
Yeah, it was. I think it was more annoying for me creating a summary of each chapter, where it's just like I wasted a minute of my time when this could have just been in this. Anyway. It's not like the summaries are that detailed or anything. I wrote like 1 to 3 sentences per chapter,
which is an immense workload. Thanks for doing that.
It was more than I thought it would. When I got home, I pretty much spent the whole time up until the time of our recording. It didn't take that, like, also doing it while just sitting there, watching kids and watching TV. But it took longer than I anticipated. Anyway, all right. Chapter 1, prologue. I feel like chapter, but I'm not gonna keep up with the numbers.
I wouldn't even, man. Just don't worry about the numbers. Just roll.
Chapter prologue. This chapter is really all about the Avatar's departure party, which was interesting and made like a whole big deal about like, oh, this is the party that not only the Avatar was already announced, but now the Avatar, all the dignitaries and all the high up noble people get together to send the Avatar off. This chapter really starts to establish the relationship between Roku and Sozin, and then it goes over that, like, later Sozin gives Roku that crown of the crown prince of the Fire Nation. Then you come to find out that was the Fire Lord. I forgot his name. Anyway, Sozin's dad, the Fire Lord. That was his idea.
Rozukin? No, I don't remember his name either.
Yeah. That was his idea to try and like keep Roku. They said leashed, but I think of it more as like a manipulative tool to make sure he always knows that his real, his loyalty should be to the Fire Nation. But yeah, that chapter is mostly just us getting back into this world of Avatar and seeing where Sozin and Roku's relationship is. They discuss a few things to dive into later. Like they mentioned briefly Roku's brother, and at this point you don't know anything. You just know he has a brother, which I always thought was interesting because we Avatar fans have talked before in the past, like, Avatar has a sibling, like, and my response would be like, well, Aang might have several. Who knows? Because air nomads are nomadic; they get around. But Roku is the first Avatar to like be confirmed to have a sibling, so I found that interesting, and that really interested me. Of like, oh, I wonder where this is going to take place in the story, how they're going to show it. it didn't have as much impact on like Roku's Avatar hood as I would kind of like this. It's not that I probably would have preferred that story because it's something new, and also some of the Avatar fans have talked before about like twin avatars. Like one twin might either be like against them because they're in the shadow, or just really trying to help them. And definitely didn't get that in this story, but still, just interesting note of an avatar having a sibling and what that means for that specific person.
Especially a twin. Oh, hey, isn't your
Yeah.
brother the Avatar? Oh my god, yes. Jesus.
You know what would be interesting is like since it's a twin, they would probably do the whole like Queen Amidala thing,
Probably
where
so.
yeah, that would be kind of interesting because then like that twin feels like a backup almost for in a sense of like, all right, we don't want any assassination attempts to happen on this avatar, so you're a decoy almost like you're not even your own person. But
Yeah, and that's man, it's kind of dark to think about in Avatar terms, but isn't horribly far off the level that like Kyoshi and Yang Chen novels were at least.
yeah. You have anything to talk about in this first chapter?
No, I would say no major surprises. Even when Sozin was giving him the little crown, I thought to myself as like, either his dad's gonna kill him or he's behind it. One or the other.
Yeah. Also, we yeah. Speaking of that, we learn more of how Roku's. I'm sorry, more about. For some reason, in my head, I kept interchanging Roku and Sozin, even though their names aren't close. But for some reason, when I was reading, I don't know why, but I would sometimes confuse the two. Makes no sense why I was. That's a indictment on me,
You know,
not the book.
we don't read a lot, so if you say like, oh, there's a little dyslexia built in there, it's like okay.
True. And I don't think I'm dyslexic, but sometimes I have no, not to belittle dyslexic people. Sometimes I feel like I have dyslexic tendencies where I just read something completely wrong the first time, and then I gotta like read it.
We're both
But
Excel guys. We both had moments where you're staring at an Excel sheet and the two cells that you looked at, you had them completely reversed in your mind, or two numbers that you looked at in those cells, you had completely like not even two things flipped, but like you read it backwards. Like you
yeah,
get the numbers completely in reverse. We've all been there. At least anybody who looks at Excel for periods of time.
but we do see Fire Lord Teso and his pressure on Sozin, um, and that definitely shapes the character that Sozin is. And also we have to get a sense of Roku. Like Roku is unsure of himself. He's a little timid. He's not like the strongest bender there is. Like he kind of pales in comparison to Sozin. So it's just interesting to see where Roku is at this point.
They paint a nice friendship picture too.
Yeah. Computer, open up. Okay, seriously, what the heck? There we go. Next chapter, A Spirit of No Nation, and I'm also including the Letting Go. Here, it's about 3 months later. Roku is training at the Southern Air Temple with Sister Disha. Wait, are they at the Southern Air Temple? It must not be, because Sister Disha's there.
I don't
I don't know what
remember.
temple they're in.
In Air
I know
Temple.
Roku trained. I know Roku trained at the. Oh, he's not even at the temple right now. He's just at like a. So he's training with Sister Disha. But Sister Disha is an air nomad. Um, she isn't really training Roku. Like they haven't done any air bending. She's just taking him on like mission trips, like a good young. What was I to say? Young Christian high school kid who's just bored one summer before college, going on mission trips. Um,
Just before he heads off to BYU, he's got to fulfill his commitments.
yeah. Um, and so they go on these mission trips to like just help people around stuff. And they do have a real interesting conversation where and Roku's kind of. It's not that he doesn't see the importance of it or that they're helping people. He's just like, this isn't like what I'm here for. And he gets in this conversation with Disha. He's like, I'm not a. And before he finishes, she's like, what, a servant? And then like I understood that like the Avatar is supposed to be a servant, like of the world. Like that's what their duty is to serve others. And I do like her point of view on a lot of things. She's really trying to push him to, we talked last week about the Olympics. She's trying to push him to not be such a nationalist and to be a person of no nation.
Which is it is man, she's still a little too. She's almost like villainously uptight about it, like a utopian. I don't even know how to describe it. She was a little over the top for me, Sister Disha, and the complete like no, he needs to learn how to bend the that's your role in this process.
I definitely see your point, and I agree. I pretty much agree with you. Because there are some parts where I'm like, I don't think you're fully right, Sister Disha. Like, and granted, things people have different opinions and stuff, just about how the world should be led and stuff. I'm like, I don't fully agree with what you're selling here. Like, because she continues to talk about detachment. She's like, you gotta detach yourself, and like to me, she's speaking from a point of view of being an air nomad, while like Yang Chen would be like, you can't detach yourself. You're the Avatar. Like you like instead of being, I feel like Sister Disha is trying to detach him from the Fire Nation, while his main goal should be attaching to all nations.
Yeah, just like a minor semantic difference. Like, no, you're not a
Yeah,
feelingless robot.
yeah.
You're the opposite. You're like a humanizing connection between us and the spirit world.
Yeah, like even his attachments to this might be the, I forget if this is the chapter or not, but he gets like all these letters from home and stuff and from people. She's like, here they are. Don't read it. I dare you not to read it. And he's like, nah, I'm gonna read it. Like,
yeah.
but like those attachments to me aren't bad. Those are what made him human. To her, as an air nomad, it's like, oh, to become, to fulfill, to get enlightenment, you got to detach yourself from the world. But like as an avatar, you can't. And I feel like that's where she was very much wrong in her teachings. Even if it's to an avatar, like if you're teaching an air nomad, sure, that's the air nomad philosophy. But
also,
I just felt like,
what if, as the Avatar, people have to communicate with him by letter because that's the only way to communicate with him in this world, sister? That was pretty upsetting for me. Anyway, some long lost issues coming up for me here. Better talk to a therapist. Go
on. Later, I think in the chapter, the letting go, somewhere in those, we meet the young Gyatso, who is kind of partnered up with Roku through Sister Disha's advice. Later, we learn why they're partnered up. But Gyatso, he's having trouble with his airbending. He can't airbend, and he's having trouble with it. And so he's training to help do that. Even though before he was like on his way to being like one of the youngest ones to get his arrows, and now he can't airbend. So both of them have been training with Sister Disha. Any thoughts on like meeting Gyatso?
Initial thoughts is that he was a little, we kind of said it last week, a little rougher around the edges than Aang. And at first, I was like, that doesn't feel right. And then the more we got into the book, I think, no, it's good. It makes him a distinct personality. Also just very excited to see young Gyatso. Like, that was the one from our initial skepticism. That was like the one boon of reading this book is, what's young Gyatso like?
Yeah, he's much. I can see how he gets to the point where we see the old Gyatso. It's funny they even bring up his pie making and how he throws them. And I think there's It might be this chapter or another one where he throws pies at Roku, and Sister Disha's like she tastes it, just like you need to add so or whatever to it. I kind of like that little back and forth
It
between
was
those two.
it was a cute little nod, even if it's a horrible waste of pie. But no, it was a cute nod.
Yeah. I assume you're still recording. I don't know. You just moved, and I
I
went
hope
to check.
so. No, it's because I
Oh,
dropped a candy wrapper and I was afraid I'd forget it later.
yeah. Then your dog gets it, and then yeah.
Exactly. It's a reason. Any reason, fancy?
Wow, what the heck, Shawn? What is in a reason? I haven't seen one of those since an old church lady took it out her lint-filled pocket.
First of all, this thing would destroy the teeth of an old church lady. Don't you dare pretend that
That's why
they
she
would.
gives it to the kids.
That's why she gives. That's a fair point. It's a chocolate outer and a caramel inner, and it's really hard to get started. Frankly, it will destroy your teeth. But as soon as you get moving, maybe the best candy out there. But you gotta work for it first. You don't just get to bite into it.
Interesting. All right, next chapter is a way through. This chapter we meet Sozin and his pretty much his team. There's I pronounce her name Dallas.
Okay.
I believe Dallas. Oh yeah, Dallas was the girlfriend of Roku. I'm sorry. Of again, why did I do this? Dallas was the girlfriend of Sozin's sister. Her name is Feijun, I think. Um, since then they've broken up. In this book they've broken up. But anytime Feijun would talk to Sozin about her, he was really impressed about her and stuff. And she's a non-bender. She has like I would think she has like those ropes with like a blade at the end that can like put us around your arm and stuff, and then like kind of like Scorpion,
Uh,
like in the like she has that kind of weapon.
I had a little. I had a little hard time picturing certain. Like, I need to watch maybe Scorpion or something like that. Or well, I'm not gonna rewatch Mortal Kombat U, but to like picture better because she made it sound like it was tied on the end of a string and just something without any rigidity. I found my brain questioning the physics, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm sure it's a real thing that exists.
yeah. I think I think so. In my head, I imagined a rope, like a small rope, not a thick rope, but like a probably this size of a rope. And then yeah, you can like twist it and stuff, and then if you wrap around your leg, you can build momentum, then unwrap it and it'll travel and stuff. In my head, that's what type of
Okay,
tool that I imagined,
a
type of
very
weapon that I
a violent yo-yo.
yeah. Yeah, essentially.
Got to get that mo going, and then walk
She
the
was like
dog when you're
Ness.
done.
Ness used to be my main on Smash a long time ago. It was really fun to play with.
I'm
Until I
not good with him, but he is a fun, like he's an amusing character.
yeah. Hit him with the PK fire and then the hammer bat.
When if you get really
So,
good at the PK fire, you can get really good at keeping people at a distance. Essentially, you can keep them out of range. This has been
yeah.
Super Smash Brothers with Chris. Uh,
Um
Tune in
anyway,
last week to hear how to swim or float. I ruined his float.
yeah,
Okay.
so we meet them. Oh, we also meet a character named Kazaru, who's a firebender, who I imagine as a big girl with short hair, probably freckles. I don't know why I imagine freckles, but I did. But she's like kind of a killer, like in a way. Like she's all more so about the money, and she's more cutthroat.
Um,
Dallas is like Dallas is like hmm, her characteristics. It's like smart, but deadly, but still unsure of some things. She's kind of just here because she's here.
she has to be, or she's obligated fiscally and
Yeah,
or out of loyalty.
yeah, like hey, the Fire Lord Prince asked me to do this thing. Okay, well, because Kazuru is like Yeah, I'm here to bust heads. Like that's what I'm here for. Had a good time.
And not the worst reason. I get it.
Yeah.
Their dynamic isn't quite as interesting as I wanted it to be. Like I thought they were going to be more interesting characters to me, and maybe they'll get there. But out of the gate, uh, I don't know. They don't do much for me early. They don't do much of anything early.
I don't think I am ever interested in them at all. And every time the story goes to this plot, except for when we go to a location that we've seen before, but these two specific characters here, I could take them or
They
leave them. They're just there for Sozin to bounce ideas off of and to be uh,
his bodyguards
his
and
henchmen as
yeah.
bodyguards.
They want you to care more about Dallas, right? Or they at least try to create that interest piece, but so far it's not. So far it's not there.
Yeah. Sozin does have a conversation with his dad, the Fire Lord, about going to look for the island. His dad denies him this request, but he does it anyway. Um, oh, they end up on the island. Dang, this is kind of a long chapter. Um, yeah, they
Relatively
end up on the
speaking.
island. Right, relative to the other chapters. It was like, I don't know, 5. It might have been 10 pages or whatever. Um, but they go to the island because there's an island that's fog filled. Sozin, one of the things that Sozin loved to do growing up, even with Roku and Roku's brother, is going to the dragon catacombs and looking through the archives and stuff, learn about different things. I forget, it might say in this chapter things that this might be the chapter they mentioned a few things that like, oh, firebenders could do this and this.
It was, yeah.
Um,
Like when he's talking about having samples of ancient lore of creating lightning, for example.
yeah,
See,
yeah, I
and
found it.
I think
Okay,
that
they
plays
say,
fine into Kitsune.
yeah, they say the boys were already familiar with tales of heroic firebending masters who could breathe fire, produce blue flames, or channel lightning. But through the ancient tests, they discover even rarer firebending skills such as the power of flight, the ability to make a distant target explode, so combustion bending, ways to harness the power of a comet, and even a method to extend one's life indefinitely. Oh, that was a new thing. Um, like each bending apparently has ways to extend a person's life, except for air nomad. We haven't seen anything yet. Like earth bending, of course. Um, Lauga does the freaking thing. Even water bending, like they made it seem like I forgot her name. Aunt Tuat, I think her name.
Atua?
Um, yeah, Tuat. She can like slow the aging process of like cells to an extent. And then apparently firebending has a method to extend one's life indefinitely.
Uh,
So
but you still have to take this as a right.
yeah,
He's got sort of unproven accounts in a novel. So even in my head,
yeah,
it's like, oh well, so they figured out warm massage makes old people feel good for a little bit,
yeah.
something. But I
It's
did
like
like this.
it's like Tai Chi.
Ex- exactly. I did like this part a little bit of him of just tying all these ideas to like no, they weren't invented later. Like we have some proof that they existed at some point before, and I don't
Yeah,
know. I enjoy that.
yeah. Um. So yeah, so Sozan's always been interested in finding these new ways or stronger ways to use fire bidding, things like that. Which is why he wants to go to this island because he read through. There's some teacher guy, some book person who has like tried to channel avatars past and stuff, things like that. And they mention this fog island that has some incredible power source or something mysterious there. So that is the MacGuffin of the whole book is this island and the power that is there. That is the secret that will
And
be
it's
revealed.
it's not even. It was just like super powerful benders. Like that's all he thought he was finding there.
Yeah. So they get on the island. and they meet some Earthbenders, and then they end up getting a tussle, and Sozin ends up killing one of them accidentally. Um, and then they're like, "Oh crap! Like Earthbenders are here. Like one thing, this is Fire Nation. This island belongs on the outer archipelagos of the Fire Nation." Um, and uh, and so they're like, "Well, we gotta. We don't want to cause a political incident, but we can't have these Earthbenders here." And also, they killed two of them.
You said that so
And it's like, why
casually.
Earthbenders? Yeah. And then he ends the chapter with pretty much like, oh, okay, well, I think I got a way to solve this problem. Pretty much, he's going to recruit Roku to deal with it. All right.
Which was I completely reason with or accept his rationale for like, yeah, I think this feels like grounds for the Avatar from his point of view. Not saying it's a great idea, big
Yeah.
picture, but
Yeah. Okay. Next up chapter is a visitor or clever turn of phrase. Sozin sends Tamine to recruit Roku on this mission to diplomatically get the Earth Benders to leave because one thing is Fire Nation territory. Hopefully, he can do it without causing any type of issues. So Tamine goes there because she's talked to Sozin, and also she wants to be like an emissary or a delegate, a whatever
ambassador.
for the ambassador. That's the word I'm looking for the Fire Nation, and this is a good little first start thing for her. Also gets her in good with a future Fire Lord. So she goes on behalf of Sozin to go talk to Roku, I believe, at the Southern Air Temple. And Sukadisha wants Roku to turn her away, but Roku has a big, huge crush on Tamine, and so they talk. And I really like their conversations together.
It's cute. It feels the only just not even a qualm, whatever's below a qualm. Uh, uh,
I believe a nitpick.
A nitpick, yeah, just a nitpick is like it feels a little contrived that they hadn't really interacted much up to this point, but I like all of their interactions at this point. Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh, oh, I was I was looking for the list of it goes nitpick. Well, it goes nitpick, qualm, pet peeve, issue, take umbrage, take exception.
Got it. Got it. Very, very powerful list that we reference
I
a
had
lot.
it. I know we started referencing a lot since we've done
It's a good
no
way to
flashback.
quantify, like, listen, I don't like it, but it's not a big deal, versus, no, this is a deal breaking time skip.
Yeah. All right, back to my notes of the
Back
book.
to my hunch.
Okay. So Roku declines the request, and like Tommy sends this decline to Sozin because Roku feels like maybe Sister Disha's right. Like this doesn't seem like something I should be involved in. But he's like, hey, Tommy, you should stay. So she stays, and I like her character because she's like shows respect. She even wins over Sister Disha to a certain extent, which even right away I know that is an accomplishment in of itself. But she seems like a really like nice girl and stuff, and they spend some time together. Like Roku would like nothing more than to just spend his days here with Tamine. Like all the Avatar stuff, he's not in. He's not that interested in compared. Like he wants to live a more simple life. Which I'm cool with.
Yeah,
Any thoughts on that? All right.
Nope. Love his relationship with Tao Min. It's gonna take me a while to remember that name. They make her feel very appealing for him in a good way.
Yeah, yeah. And then they also have these conversations and stuff about the nation and stuff. And she does kind of implore on him that, like, she says something to him kind of at the end of the chapter that directs or influences his avatarhood and how he approaches it. kind of about being a citizen of all nations.
Where
Yeah,
her feelings match more what we would want to see Sister Deisha
yeah,
explain. Yeah. On purpose. Like, obviously,
yeah.
they wrote it that way.
Hmm. Yep. All right, next chapter. As they, go off and do their little thing together, they end up. There's an Earth Kingdom person ends up trying to assassinate them, and comes close to killing Roku on accident. Like buries both Tamine and Roku. Oh, I'm sorry. This is chapter. It's a quick end to the era of Roku and to the rest of us. So yeah, so they barely survive this assassination attempt. They get saved by Gyatso, who quickly becomes, I think, friends with Tamine. While Roku's kind of like, dang, like I couldn't even save myself. Like it took Gyatso to save me, and I don't even like Gyatso. Oh, and Gyatso was able to airbend. And he's like, wait, I can airbend? Because there's some type of connection he has with. They could explain it. He has some type. For some reason, he can airbend when Roku's life is in danger.
Well, so I actually like that it felt that way at first, but then they made it a little bit deeper. Like, it wasn't just adrenaline, but that he actually did feel some relationship connection to Roku, and I thought that was kind of nice.
Yeah. So the Earth Kingdom assassin pretty much says like, this is on behalf of of the of the Earth King, and then Roku's like, oh, the Earth King is trying to assassinate me. All right, maybe I should look into what's happening on this island. And right away, I knew this was Sozin's doing. It was very obvious. Was this obvious to you as well?
I didn't know for sure that it'd be Sozin or if it would be Sozin's dad, but it was really awkward, like the awkward timing. But there again, that was on because it's on purpose. It made it okay, I guess. Right, like we're not trying. The author's not really trying to mislead us. Like we learn pretty
Yeah,
quickly that that's it. The
yeah,
author's not trying to. So, it was yeah. I'm just trying to say I was okay with it in this case.
yeah. So Roku changes his mind and he tells Tamine to help out. Tells Tamine to tell Sozin that he will accept his mission and go to the island. All right, ash in the air. Yeah, like you said, Sozin quickly admits that he sent an assassin, and now he's on to the spirit library. That is a very short chapter. It
Good
is
work. I was excited
one
to
and a
see
half
them
pages.
go into the library again, though. I thought that was fun.
Yeah. But that's not the chapter they go to the library. Even though they could have just showed us him going to the library,
Yep,
and I think I would have liked that more than some of the just going back and forth. Like
would have been
just
totally fine.
just continue this on this path.
Yep,
But next
agreed.
chapter is
Agreed
knowledge
entirely.
to destroy. Knowledge to destroy, and maybe there's a good reason for it. Um, yeah, I can see there being a good. Well, because by the end of that chapter, he goes to the spirit library. That's when he learns that like, oh, I was wrong. I need to get back to Roku. And so maybe from the a sense of like of building suspense in certain areas, maybe that's why they split it up. So maybe I shouldn't do that critique. I'm not a writer. He's a writer. Maybe there's good reasons for some of the choices he made. That anyway.
Maybe so. I didn't like him, but maybe so.
Yeah. Knowledge to destroy. This was a confusing chapter at first because we get introduced to a bunch of new characters. We get introduced to the island natives of the Fog Island. The main character who has POV here is Malaya. We talked about her um, last episode that I really liked her character. So the island natives are made up of benders from all nations. Well, not nomads. You have airbenders, waterbenders, earthbenders, firebenders, non-benders. Malayla is a non-bender who's like really great with a bow. She's been kind of training her whole life to be a scout, and the scouts they kind of deal with outsiders or just scouting any potential troubles coming in. And we also meet Yulo, or sometimes I will pronounce it YOLO, even though that you only live once. How did you pronounce this word, this name?
Yulo. Yulo. I tried to
Okay.
avoid it in my head. I wish I'd thought of YOLO. That would have at least been more entertaining to see every time.
Yeah. I think Yulo probably, or it might be pronounced Ulo.
Okay, I could buy that.
Okay. Ulo. Anyway. We meet Ulo, who's the chief of the tribal chief of everyone there. Milado tells Ulo about the Earth Kingdom of trespassers that are here. There's like a mother and a daughter who are kind of. And she describes them. I like the way she describes the people. It's kind of like this observer of kind of fish out of water. So she describes like the mother and the daughter who are kind of like researchers, and then the earthbenders who are there to like protect them. I liked her curiosity. Yeah, and also she's a little afraid of Ulo. Like Ulo's, I don't know if it's this chapter or another chapter where he water bends her frozen in like an instant.
Hmm?
So he's a very out of nothing, like no water around him, just water bended her, encapsulated her in ice. So he's a very powerful water bender. He's probably like if I had to guess, he's a top 10 water bender. Um, the fact that he did a feat of encasing someone in ice instantly without water being around, just the water molecules in the air, would probably put him above Katara, even though that might be blasphemous to some. But just to get a sense of how strong he is.
And I think this island would be skewed towards the powerful in a few different ways. Not that that's unfair. I mean, it's part of the deal, but
Yeah,
the benders on this island, I think, are gonna be skewed towards the more potent. Maybe he's getting some assistance.
could be.
Huh?
It's hard to tell. That's true. Hard to tell. If he's getting a power up or not.
Probably literally impossible to tell in a way, I would imagine.
True. Yeah. So he could be a very weak waterbender for all I
But
know.
anyway,
Yeah. Put Katara on this island. See if she doesn't.
yeah,
I don't know,
surely she'd
do
be doing
whatever.
some amazing stuff on the island.
Yeah. Um. That's pretty much a chapter there. They. Yeah. Not that much. I feel like this chapter is really just introducing us to the island. Um. I feel like I don't know if it's this chapter, but Malayla. It might not be this one. But Malayla isn't like sure about. Oh, we do meet. Okay, we do. We also meet Amihan in this chapter as well. But Malayla's kind of like unsure about Ulo. I don't know if this chapter we figure that out, or it's another one that she's like his stories don't add up a lot of times, and he feels very threatening to me.
I don't know if it's this
Um,
chapter, but it's pretty early on. There again, he doesn't hide her skepticism towards Ulo.
mhm. We also meet a character named Amihan, or oh, no, we don't meet them yet. Never mind, or meet her yet. But Amihan is a middle-aged airbender with blue eyes, like Ulo, and a twisted sense of humor that might have been the product of too much time alone over the years. Once Malayla had gone to relieve Amihan and found her surrounded by the splattered corpses of toads on which she'd been practicing her airbending. And she said, I wanted to see how high I could send them. Amihan had told her without blinking. So Amihan is a sociopath.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah. And well, just spending too much time on your own at this point, you're like, well, that's not good grounds. But then later, from what you learn, you're like, okay, I see where she has become skewed with time.
Yeah. But it's interesting how Amihan is an airbender who is. I will talk about that later. All right. So that's that chapter. The next chapter, a lovely meandering tour. Roku and Gyatso look for the island. Oh, because so Gyatso agrees to go look because he's like, you know what? My bidding came back with Roku, and when Roku's in trouble, and I need to see if that will help me get it back. So he agrees to go with Roku. They take his bison, which doesn't get along with him for some reason. I don't know why that's the case, but
I
for some
think they
reason,
alluded to the fact that it was tied to his that it
his
was tied
spirit
to his
being,
bidding issues. Yeah,
yeah.
I think they
I
alluded
think
to
they,
that.
yeah. Let's see here. Roku. We learn more about Yasu, Roku's brother. Like we learn his name and everything. And then Gyatso opens up and tells Roku about his sister, we learn that Roku's brother died a long time ago. So his twin brother died, and how Roku feels. They both. This is a good chapter to establish their relationship with each other. I'm like, oh, I see why Sister Disha paired us together because we both have been dealing with the loss of a sibling. And I should have mentioned this in our spoiler-free review, but I did like a lot of the kind of the overarching life lessons that this book has, or the I think the meaning that you find in the book. A lot of it's about loss and dealing with it and stuff, and both these characters, and that stuff was really touching. I found in a lot of different scenes with Roku and Gyatso, how they both dealt with losing a sibling, and
This is a little
how it connected.
nicer. It's a nice. There's like nice coming of age stories here. That so with Yang Chen, we already kind of get grown up Yang Chen. There's like coming
Mhm.
of age elements here that remind me more of internal turmoil Kyoshi, and give me some of those vibes.
Yeah, yeah. This was more of a coming of age story. I think more of a coming of age story than even the Kyoshi novel. Granted, they're both about 17 in this book, while Yang Chen feels like she's like 25, somewhere around there. Like she's old enough that she is doing deals and stuff and managing things. She's not. She's established. All right. So we learn more about that. I was ready. I was waiting for. I never heard of an air nomad having a sibling. I know that a lot of them probably have blood siblings, but this was the first one that, like, I was ready for him to be like, oh, well, we weren't really brother and sister. Like, we weren't blood related, but she was like sister to me. Like, even Yang Chen had Jetsun, who was like a sister to her, like, but they weren't like blood related. And so I'm like, oh, does this add either the author doesn't know air nomad culture, or he's adding another dynamic to it. Again, another maybe backhanded compliment that I give.
Mm. I mean, it's still a compliment.
Because typically they don't. The kids are split up, and the boys go one place, the girls go one place, and they don't really have parents. It's a communal raising, and so I was a little bit confused by the sister thing, but I wouldn't change it because I like the sister aspect of it. They just didn't. My brain kept being like, all right, but what's the like? How do you explain this? Like, this is a new aspect of arid nomad culture. Sorry, my throat is just.
Mm. Mine as well. We've been talking a lot.
Okay, so that is. So they end up finding the island somehow. Next chapter, swear to spirits. Not really a bird guy. Roku and Gatso land on the island, and I feel like there was a lot of like boring walking stuff happening in this chapter. Whereas like they don't know where they're going. It's it just took. I was just ready for them to just find themselves, and I was kind of bored in this part.
Hmm? There, yeah, there's a bit of a drag in through not just this chapter, but through the entire middle. There's a little bit of a drag. I felt like we
Yeah,
were checking in on several plots, and none of them were traversing at the speed my brain wanted.
yeah. Um, Roku claims to be a dragon guy, and that's kind of, and even Gatsu was like, "You're not a dragon guy. Like you're more of like a, I don't know, bird guy." Um, and but it kind of goes to the what the perceptions or expectations of Roku are compared to, and how he internalizes that and tries to project that, but he's really not that. Anyway, that's that. That's chapter A Rat Snake's Underbelly. We go back to the island natives. We meet the killer airbender Amihan, even though we kind of met her before. They have to get rid of the Ulo. Ulo gives Malala the mission to get rid of the Earth trespassers. He doesn't tell her, like, he just tells her to get rid of them. Doesn't tell her to kill her or anything, kill him or anything. So she hatches a plan, pretty much separate them from their backpacks. It's a full plan. The plan actually could work, but Amihan sabotages the mission by like making Malaya visible to everybody, and then Amihan just completely has no intention of actually scaring them away, which is what Malaya's plan was.
Yeah, she was gonna have a little fun and then murder them. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing that feels like it becomes quickly apparent.
Yeah, because even when they're going over their plan, she's like, "It's easy. I just lift them up and I like throw them over the edge." Like she really is a sociopath, I think. Which is interesting because we've never seen an airbender who's like not only was willing to kill and have killed, but one thing, it doesn't affect their bending, which confuses Gyatso later in the book. He's like, it goes completely against air nomad philosophy, and we even see in the past, like when air nomads have ventured outside of their beliefs and stuff, that lessens their bending ability, which is a theory that I have on on the whole Avatar universe. One of the theories I've had before, and I might mention it before, about how like beliefs drive your strength in the Avatar universe, and I think there's proof of this because like why does seeing the full moon, why does that make waterbender stronger? Like I think it's because they have belief in the ocean and moon spirit, and that moon is a full representation of that. So their beliefs strengthens them, right? And I think I was thinking of this when I was thinking about just my relationship with with Christianity and God. I'm like, I feel there's a power, if you will, that strengthens me, like my beliefs and stuff. And like this would be the same way in the Avatar universe, right? Like their beliefs in the ocean and moon spirit strengthens them. Also, like why did Zuko lose his bending when he changed sides? Like because his belief system changed. He was no longer that angry. He was no longer using that angriness. Why did Kelsung lose his bending? Why did Jessa start to lose her bending? Because beliefs in the Avatar universe alters your power. This is my theory. But also, can it was part of like an arc that I'm thinking about in Kitsune, where where Zeto in my head, Zeto is like one of the weakest avatars in terms of pure strength, because Zeto has no beliefs in, he has little beliefs in spirits, and he has like a lower belief in humanity because he's grew up poor and stuff and grew up in like a part where like people didn't help people out. He has little beliefs in spirits because like Zeto is more in my head. It's more logic bound. It's like if I can touch it and stuff and like measure things, he thinks logically about things. And while he knows spirits exist and stuff, he's not like a believer. But in my head, there's like an arc where he finds something to believe in. I gotta tie it somewhere in there. But anyway, so there's a theory I have about the Avatar universe and beliefs and faith and how it empowers people. And that's why this
Well,
character, Amihan, can just kill with even though she's an air nomad, she can kill without affecting her bending or any remorse at all because that's not part of her beliefs.
I mean, chakras are essentially, you know, trying to manifest a realistic visage of something that is inherently spiritual. So I have no issue believing that spiritual that bending is tied to a certain spiritual drive or belief in oneself and the source of one's abilities. I think that's an extremely
Yeah.
valid theory.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, went off a little tangent there. But
the valid tangent of hey, why can Amihan be a dick? No,
yeah. Um, where the heck was I? Okay. So yeah, so Amir Han sabotages the mission, and afterwards, Malaya's like, "Yo, why you do that? Like, we the plan was going well," and Amir Han is like, "Your plan was stupid. It wasn't going to work anyway. Go talk to Yulo. Like, he'll tell you the real plan." And she's like, "Why do you think?" She's pretty much like, "We kill people. That's the job. That's what we do." And Malay like, "I don't think that's true." And she's like, "All right, go talk to Yulo. Come back to me. Tell me what the answer is." Well, anyway, next chapter, A Hurt So Deep. Gyatso and Roku talk about missing their siblings. It's a pretty short chapter, but I like it. Just establishes their relationship even more. Have them opening up to each other. Really like that stuff. Anything to add there?
nope.
All right, we're about a third into the book. All right, Bones in the Earth. Malaya talks to Yulo about killing the trespassers, and he's pretty much like, "Yeah, we kill people because once they find out we're here, they're gonna come here." And then he tells her some story that might be fake, might be real. It changes sometimes, um, but he pretty much tells her like, "You gotta do what you gotta do, and I expect you to do it. Go kill those people." And she's like, "All right." She agrees because one thing she's afraid of him. Uh, anything to add there, Shawn?
Is that where she saw the? I'm gonna call them the drawings inside the cave of
Um,
maybe not that the stories were getting mixed up. That like, hey, maybe this actually happened to multiple different tribes on this island,
Roku later. I forget if she sees them. I
or if
didn't
that's
read that
Roku
through.
later. Okay,
Yeah, Roku later sees all the cave drawings and stuff, and kind of gives the history of the tribe.
okay.
This guy must be a giant. That's not size. Oh, one interesting thing, um, in that chapter of A Hurt So Deep, Roku does admit like the thing that helped Roku get over his brother dying was Sozin. Um, and just yeah. Okay. Bones in the Earth. We got that one. Under the Altered Sky / chapter and Delicate Political Maneuvering, and also another False Avatar. So I combine like 3 freaking chapters into one. Roku and Gyatso talk about their dreams. They both have like dreams / nightmares, which is just indicative of them missing their siblings. Um, then they come across an Earthbender who tries to kill them, and then they take him out. And they end up like dislocating his shoulder. And then they repair it, and they tell him that Roku's the Avatar, and then he laughs at it, and then they get more information about who he's like working for, some company that the Western something company.
I kept mixing it
But
up with the in the Pirates of the Caribbean. In my head, I kept calling it the East India Trading Company, even as I was reading the
it might be,
words that weren't that.
yeah, they might be the Western Trading Company,
I think
something
that
like that.
actually is correct.
The W. I remember I acronymed it in my head, and WTC sounds familiar
Hmm?
because every company needs an acronym.
Yeah.
Especially if you got 3 words in the title. Yeah.
Every company I've ever worked for has been full of acronyms.
I hate I hate acronyms a lot working in insurance because there's parts of the company I'm like, I don't know what that is. Can you just write it
You just
out?
gotta write that out. I'm never gonna cling to that information ever.
I do have a file that's just acronyms where I have the acronyms and I write what the acronyms mean.
That's
Sometimes
just
in a meeting, someone will say something and I'll be like, I don't know what the acronym is. Let me write it and I'll look it up later. I don't want to interrupt this meeting just to ask
that's just a
what
good
this
choice.
acronym.
That's just being wise.
All right. So later on in one of these chapters, so they come across that Earthbender, and he tells them what the deal is. Oh, the Earthbender is trying. He's not trying to kill Roku. He's trying to kill Gyatso because one of the Earthbender's friends were killed by air, and he's like, "Oh, this Airbender tried to kill me," and Gyatso's like, "What are you talking about? Like that goes against everything we believe. Like, there's no way we could be trying to kill you." Um, he says, "What is it?" And I suppose it was a spirit that then flung me into the air so high that I broke an arm and got knocked unconscious when I fell. Gyatso's like, "Maybe."
Sounds accurate.
Yeah. Oh no, they're the Western Kingdom Trading Company. Oh, that's too long of a
WKTC.
like
Yeah, that sounds like a radio station.
WKTC. It does sound exactly like a
That's
radio station.
that's an Earth Kingdom radio station right there.
um, let's see. But then, like, yeah, they were private bodyguards for WKTC. Uh, um,
Didn't know radio stations needed this.
anyway, you've been following your trail. Okay, so where was I at? Looking at my notes. Hurt so deep. Okay, so they defeat the Earthbender, and they learn that there is something valuable on the island. And then all this time, Gyatso's like, "So Roku, like, Sozin could have been lying to you about something." And Roku's like, "No, no way, Sozin would lie to me." And then Gyatso's like, "You sure?" Gyatso hates Sozin, like, with a passion, which is almost a little unwarranted. It's not that it's not right.
It is,
It's
but
just
I
that he
like that it
really,
informs that difference, like we discussed differences between Aang and Gyatso.
yeah,
Oh,
true.
but it does feel unwarranted for what he knows.
Yeah, like we know what happened.
Yeah,
It's really interesting if you look at this. Not that the live action TV show is canon at all, because it's not canon. It's its own thing. But in that show, Sozin personally kills Gyatso, and like that would be interesting if it was. Let's say it is canon, because it could be canon in the like. There's nothing to say that didn't
yeah,
happen in the cartoon,
could be.
and this is canon. That would be an interesting like meeting. Like they met up long ago, and like their past was Roku, their connection was Roku, and like that meeting that they would have would be like Gatsu would be like, I knew who you were when I met you all those years ago, like, and then Sutsun would be like, that's what I am, or I don't know, something villainous, and then
Something
he burns him.
destiny, something.
Yeah. like this is the will of fire. No, I can't say will of fire. Will of fire is a Naruto thing, but it's a very positive thing. The will of fire in Naruto is about like people passing on their will to fight and to protect their friends and loved ones, and that's not what the will of fire is in the Avatar universe. If it was such a thing,
something fire spreads rapidly at its own will.
yeah,
Close
something
enough
like
to
that.
will of fire, but not quite there. You know.
Yeah. So Roku and Yatu argue about what to do next, and they get into this big, huge fight, and then they split ways, part ways, and break up. And again, I like their dynamic that they don't get along, but they're getting closer. It's how I think it's a natural progression.
Hmm? I'll say just a compliment in general toward the relationship building in this book feels pretty solid and natural across the board.
Yeah. All right, next chapter, Control. The souls in the crew look for the spirit library, and that is pretty much it. Pretty much this chapter is just Sozen like, hey, we might have to kill these sandbenders because they're leading us into a trap.
And even it wasn't executed, like it could have been interesting, but it's not. And this whole part of the plot needed to be reduced down to we went to the library and found the information that we needed.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with, yeah.
Oh, anyway.
Next chapter, a mutual exchange of information. So, Malayla, she was tasked with killing. She's tasked by Ulo to kill the trespassers, including that mother and daughter. The daughter's like probably a teenager. Um, her and Amihan is like, see, I told you, we got to kill him. And then she's like, all right, whatever, we'll kill him. So this is where you learn about Malayla and her beliefs and her convictions. She's like, yeah, curiosity shouldn't be the punishment for curiosity shouldn't be death. Like they're just here. Like she doesn't want to kill them, and I like that little suspense that builds up. Like, is she gonna kill him or not? Like I would have understood. I wouldn't have been mad at the character if she killed. Then I would have understood like she was pressured into it and stuff. But it shows her character on why she wouldn't kill them. So then she has a plan. She ends up roofing Amihan and knocks her out with some type of banana lace or some type of not poison but lace banana that she gives to Amihan. And then she goes down to the mother and daughter. It's like she tells them like, hey, you need to get out of here. Like my tribe is here to like there's a person back there that is tasked with killing you. I am tasked with killing you, and I'm trying to save you. Just leave. And then the mother's like, "Oh, but like, do you think we can go talk to your chief or your leader?" Like the Avatar. My first thought was, the Avatar universe has Karens, and they wish to speak to the manager. Like, no, just leave. Like, I'm telling you, they're gonna kill you. Just leave.
Please. I'm desperate for you. I don't even know why I'm desperate at this point. I should just let you because you're being like this. This should be my insight to what people on the outside are like, and now I should just kill all of you going forward.
Yeah. The mother and daughter ends up betraying Malayla and knocks her out. At that point, I was like, screw you, little women. like, I hope you die at this. Not hope that you die, but actually, I would have been if Malayla was like, you know what, screw them, they betrayed me. But she still, even in the next chapter or whatever next chapter we see from her, she still has like, you know what, I know that didn't go the way I wanted, but I still don't believe in killing them. And that shows a lot of the character.
They and it's another situation where it was like a quote unquote surprise, but it didn't really catch you off guard. Like she's gonna get burned for it, but it's still that doesn't mean it's not the right way for the story to proceed or the characters to behave. It's
Yeah,
just not like a Shyamalan twist.
yeah. Next chapter, Roku alone. We get these flashbacks of Yasu's death. Mess with Roku trying to survive by himself. I'm never like I'll never turn down an alone episode or story. It's interesting. I got an idea for a lone chapter in the Kitsune Zeto project, but it's in the perspective of the villain.
Adorable,
Whatever
adorable.
whatever we call the villain. In my head, it's Rozukin alone still. Until I'll keep calling Rozukin until we find an actual name.
You
I
know,
have
something
placeholders
will
for.
something will come up, or it won't. And it'll be Rizukin. The also, I mean, our rendition lends itself well to an alone episode because he's kind of alone in both of his lives.
Hmm, hmm, yeah.
The duality of Kitsune.
The duality of Kitsune. Okay, Roku. So flashback to Yasu's death, his brother, his twin brother. It was late at night. It was just them two. Sozin wasn't with them for whatever reason, and they go swimming, and then Yasu ends up apparently drowning at sea. His body never turns up. And this was I summed it up pretty quickly, but I did think this was it wasn't a heart wrenching chapter. Like I never got emotional or anything, but it was just a good chapter. I think you saw what Roku went through.
No additional commentary.
Elias has. Oh, I accidentally did that. Oh, I must have accidentally moved that. Anyway, terrifying and tempting. Oh, I forgot to say. Oh, dang it! I accidentally moved all these around. That doesn't go there. Which doesn't really matter. It also goes over Yasu's funeral and Sozin being being like Sozin was closer to Yasu than he was to Roku, but when Yasu died, like in a way they were both there for each other. But Sozin told Roku like, "I'm your brother now," like, and that's the point that I'm like, okay, I get why Roku is so reluctant to kill Sozin because he was there for him. He took that place of his brother. It would be like killing. It's killing the closest thing he has to a brother. So it doesn't. To me, it doesn't excuse Roku's. I mean, it's hard, right? It's hard to say like, oh, he should have
The,
killed Sozin because sometimes we could be like, oh, well, Aang should have killed Fire Lord Ozai, but also Roku just could have done more. Like he could have like put Sozin in jail, but maybe that wouldn't have helped because Sozin didn't do anything until after Roku died. But still, I feel like that punishment should have been more. Like you invaded a country and took it took their land. But anyway,
they paint it, or the author paints it in as like relatable a way as I think he could in the circumstances, and I mean that is
yeah,
pretty high praise. He made me care about as much as I care to care about
yeah.
the
And
rationale behind Roku's decisions.
yeah, and I knew going into the book, I was like, there might be some stuff that I'm gonna like, that I'm gonna hate, that I'm gonna like it because
Yeah.
they're forcing me to like it, and this is
Well,
one of those
that's just
things.
the nature of getting stuck with a Roku book and knowing that
Yeah,
some Avatar Studios creative minds are going to have some good ideas to,
yeah,
yep, part of the deal. I felt similar.
Yep. Man, I want to get to a good stopping point, but I don't know where it's a good stopping point. We're about halfway through. Which I don't know what time it is. What time is it?
It's real late. 12:49.
Oh, holy crap, Shawn!
Yep.
It's 12:49 already.
I know it.
Ah,
I know it.
crap. I was in my head. I thought it was like 12:20.
It's very optimistic thinking.
All right. We'll get to some. I'll go through these next chapters. Maybe we'll get to a stop point. Not necessarily stop. We can stay up. Just a stopping point of this part of the episode. Terrifying and tempting. Roku finds his way out. He sees the water. Sees just like three waterbenders who are bending the fog. He's like, "Holy crap! How are they doing this?" Like, it's just three of them who's bending the fog around this huge island, and he kind of feels the presence of the power that this sacred place is providing. He tries to just like say hi to the three waterbenders, and they attack him, and then he ends up like shooting out blue flames at him. And then he ends up knocking out the waterbenders, almost killing them, probably.
I do like this discovery and the presentation, the idea of, the extra immense power that later when we find out where it comes from. I like it a little less later when we find out like the source and the idea of why that can amp up their bending, I guess. I don't know. It feels very Avatar replacement-y. Or like bargain bin Avatar-y, I guess. But we can talk about that more when we get to the end. I'm sure that will come up.
Yeah. Okay. Next chapter is All for Nothing. It's pretty much about Sozin in the Spirit Library. He meets Wan Xing Tong, he who knows 10,000 things. Which isn't a literal thing. It's just a
I bet he knows more than 10,000 things if he
really
sets his mind to it.
Yeah, he definitely knows more than 10,000 things.
Yeah.
But I really like this chapter because I wouldn't say it's nostalgia. It's just I think I like this chapter because I like learning things about the Avatar universe and like, all right, let's drop a little lore in here and search for a couple things. It's interesting to see like watching Tong. This is probably the most agreeable I've seen him with humans. Like each time, like we go with him with chronological order. Each time he gets more and more fed up with them.
Well, so
like,
that tracks then here.
Exactly, yeah, it tracks. Like you see Sozin, all right. Sozin's like, oh, I want to learn more firebending. He's like, all right, sure. And then of course he will later on probably come into contact with Admiral Zhao, and then Zhao ends up burning the Fire Nation section. He's like, like they're just here to get freaking information on how to bend or defeat their enemies. Then he meets Aang and Team Avatar, and then they're trying to get information. He's like, again, like trying to get information to destroy your enemies. And then by that point in Korra, he's like, you know what? I'm rocking with Unalaq over here.
What is the value of accumulating that information if it can't be shared, Wan Xing Tong?
True. Yeah. Very true. But yeah, he spends a lot of time in here learning stuff. Oh, there was something about Zeto in here. It says this is a mountain with sands making stuff. Use a dedicated training meditation. Only fire avatars like Zeto had developed a mastery over several of the powers with them at some point or another throughout their lives while in the avatar state. Powers like explosions and stuff like that, which tracks with some of the abilities that I think Zeto would eventually use. Oh, they also mentioned how Zeto was discovered to be the Avatar, which I'm really excited about because I actually already wrote it in one of my like I have a list of like potential scenes that I was thinking of. Um, but it said like past avatars were some were discovered because through like tests and trials that the nation had, or because they showed signs of knowing past lives or bending or doing things that only avatars could do, like know past lives, um, or bend multiple elements. Like and then it said like Yang Chen or Zeto. Well, we know Yang Chen was discovered to be the avatar because she was having freaking possessed by past lives, and so that leaves Zeto being discovered because he bent multiple elements. I have the scene in my head. All right, I really love the scene that I have pictured in my head. Um, it's like imagine. I guess I'll spoil the scene. Granted, who's ever reading this or listening to this probably won't remember the scene, and maybe I won't even use the scene. Uh, but
It's on the cutting board. It's on the cutting room floor.
so like imagine Zeto at like age 13 or something with his best friend, with his other friend and his other friend, right? They're all poor, and one night they're like looking up at the stars and stuff, and just talking about their future and stuff, and like, yeah, in the future, like, we'll live like this and this, and we'll travel, or we'll just they're just it's an aspirational thought about the future, and then one of them is like, oh yeah, well, it's gonna be great because the fire avatar is gonna be soon. The next avatar is a fire nation, and like, and they're gonna be and they're gonna make everything better. And then and they're like, oh well, they haven't the sages haven't discovered the new avatar yet. Like they haven't uh made him public. And then one of Zeto's friends are like, hey Zeto, like you're smart. You could run some formula in your head on like where the avatar might be or something. So then Zeto's like, oh yeah, I probably could, because Zeto likes doing these things because he's really smart. He likes just hypothesizing about things. So he goes through a formula in his head of like, all right, well, past avatars died on this day, and the other avatar was born on this day. And usually, avatars typically are drawn to locations of their past lives. And so, like, he starts mumbling to himself, like numbers and figures and stuff. And his friends are like, "Yeah, that's Zeto's off talking to himself and stuff." How he does when he formulates these opinions. And then Zeto stops immediately what he's doing because he's scared of this potential answer that he's conjuring in his head. His friends are like, "What is it?" And he's like, "There's probably a 15 to 70% chance that I'm the Avatar." And then they're like, and like they all start laughing at him, right? And except for one friend who's like not laughing because one thing he believes in Zeto, he sees Zeto's potential. He's like, all right, well, Zeto, like, bend another element. And then Zeto, like, one thing Zeto's afraid of this moment because, like, they were talking about the Avatar saving them a minute ago, but if he's the Avatar, one thing that's just a lot to go with it. It's a lot of responsibility. He's afraid of it. So first, he tries bending water, knowing that he's probably least likely to bend water. Right? He doesn't. There's like a puddle somewhere nearby. Doesn't bend, and then he tries to bend the air around him. It doesn't bend, and then all's left is earth, and there's like a pebble nearby. And this is the element that he purposely saved in his head last because it's probably the most likely to be able to bend because he relates more to earth structure and philosophies, and like earth is more of a tangible. It's the less spirity of all the elements, and then he tries to bend the earth, and the rock snaps in his hand, and then they're all like, "Holy crap, he's the Avatar." So anyway, so I thought of that scene, and it actually would match with some of the stuff that they have in here. That like Zeta would present himself and be like, and bend two elements to show that he was the Avatar.
He's the smart kid that got like a school project thing assigned to him, and he comes back with an unexpected answer, and everybody's like, "Oh snap!" And that
Yeah.
and that that would help. It's an easy transition from like humble origins to then his palace role in Avatar. Fame's the wrong word, but Avatar prominence. It's an easy
Yeah.
leap.
And then I thought this other scene. Anyway, thought a lot of scenes in my head. But so there's this little spoiler. Little one thing that's a flashback scene, and so it's not that spoiler. But
Right, it's a
that might be
mild spoiler at best.
yeah, that might be in the Rozukin alone episode chapter anyway or issue. Where the heck? Well, anyway, that's a holy crap. Sozin talks to the owl. Oh, then Sozin realizes like, oh, that Arthur was wrong because Zeto wrote in here that Arthur was wrong. That island is really freaking pointless because it provides a power up like just on the. I don't know if they say it in this chapter, but sure, it provides a power up, but it's only on the island and it's pretty useless because it can only be done. It can't help you out at
I
all.
believe that's in
But
this
also,
chapter.
yeah. But also, Roku might be in trouble. He might be. No, he just might be in trouble. And so Sozin stops. He gets out of the library, even though like he loves being in the library. He might not ever see it again. And him and his crew rush back or rush to the island. All right, and I think that's a little bit of a cliffhanger of like, oh, is Roku in trouble? And I think that's a pretty good stopping point for this part of the part one of the episode.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, so come back next week for part 2. We'll finish up this summary, and we'll give maybe our more spoilery reviews or slightly more spoilery reviews. In the meantime, my name's Shawn Shaler. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter. Leave all the positive comments and reviews and thumbs ups and likes and bells and whistles and all those things. We very, very grateful for all those. Thanks for watching Avatar: The Last Podcasters, and we will see you next week.